Starfield is such an interesting game to critique because whilst many people have gone into this game looking to enjoy the systems of it and be blown away, other people went in looking for faults. They went in being heavily critical, and the good thing about Starfield is both those critiques are 100% valid. I think that's one of the biggest factors of why the game is so divisive, and after spending well over 80 plus hours with Starfield, engaging with all the systems in the game, discovering new things as I went, and eventually beating the main story, Starfield boils down to one single statement. Starfield is fantastic, but flawed. This statement is apparent across the entire game. There are systems that are incomplete and oddly designed, but have upsides. There are systems that are well complete, but have some flaws. And it's all in various degrees. So if you allow me some of your precious time, I want to explain why Starfield is fantastic and flawed. Starfield has a lot of good in the game, and one of the most important areas that I think needs to be highlighted is the questing. The main story has a couple of flaws, and it isn't the most enjoyable experience when it comes to a full-on epic story experience. But one thing that redeems this is the side quests, the faction quests, the random moments that you'll find out in the world that you can turn into these big questing experiences. For example, you could be walking around one of the main cities in the game and you can just hear an activity or hear a rumor of something and then go to that specific area of where it's told you to go because it pops up on your mission statement. And then you can go into like an hour or 2 hour questing experience that I think is top notch. All of the faction quests, the UC Vanguard, the Freestar Collective, Ryujin Industries, and also the Crimson Fleet are fantastic. Each of the 4 faction quests offer different unique gameplay. For example, with the Crimson Fleet, you're playing as an undercover agent trying to take down the Crimson Fleet from the inside, and you have to make some tough choices there. Ryujin Industries is corporate espionage. The UC Vanguard is essentially this galaxy-wide emergency that you end up going on. And then the Freestar Rangers, you end up being this space cop trying to uncover a mystery and ultimately take down who is responsible. Not only have these faction quests been the main highlight for me, but just the regular questing in general. You'll speak to random people around the world in the different individual cities that you'll go to, and even sometimes when you're flying out in space, you'll just get random events pop up that lead into a quest, and I think Bethesda has done a stellar job here. The questing also plays in big part down to the individual world building of each of the cities within the game. New Atlantis is big, sprawling, it's like big capital city that reminds me very much of Mass Effect. You have Aquila City, which is more of a Western type vibe. Then you have Neon, which gives you that cyberpunk vibe as well. And then you have somewhere like Sidonia, which is a mining facility, and that has its own individual world building and quests that you can go and do as well. All of the world building in this game is awesome, and all of these cities are actually fleshed out as well, which I think I would have liked to have seen more of them, even though there are some handcrafted cities and locations here and there, like the Red Mile, which is a big casino. There's also a couple of other areas that you can go and visit as well, but I definitely think that we should have had more of these, which is the main flaw when it comes to the building in the game. Because if we move into exploration, with the exploration in the game, there is a lot of good and a lot of kind of flawed things. Once you've seen a lot of the procedural generation and the different ways that the game will show you structures on certain planets, it can be a little bit repetitive, but then you can bypass all of that and just stick to the specific locations that it wants you to go to, and you can land on a planet and it will generate all of these things for you, which is good, but it's incredibly flawed because there is no fast way to get around on planets. Regardless if there's gravity or not, there is going to be issues, especially when walking everywhere. I would like to see some form of mount or like mech, rover, that type of thing that would really improve the exploration and allow you to explore planets a lot easier. Something that heavily surprised me was how good the combat, gunplay, loot, and gear system was within Starfield. At least for me, this is the best feeling combat and gunplay that they have done in any of their games before, and I really think Bethesda did a fantastic job. They aren't going to blow anyone's socks off because at the end of the day, the gunplay within the game is within the confines of an RPG. It isn't going to be this amazing fluid experience that you get with a lot of other FPSs, but I found it very smooth. I really enjoyed all of the variety of weapons that you have in the game, as well as the loot that you can get. The legendary versions of certain weapons have 3 perks on, and they have some interesting rolls that you can get on them as well. And even the regular grey weapons or white weapons in this, which are just normal, have some decent damage to them, so there wasn't too much of a disparity between them, and you can modify all of this within the crafting system as well to make some insane weapons. Alongside that, having a variety of playstyles, pistols, rifles, shotguns. I really enjoyed this specific aspect of the combat, and I do think that combining that with some of the skills as well that you have in the game, it provides for a very pleasant experience. I can't lie, and I credit Bethesda here because I do think that they've really stepped up their game, especially compared to some of the gunplay we had in Fallout. This is fantastic in comparison. I can't sit here and talk 100% about all of the good in the game without mentioning the flaws, because I have to be honest, there are some things in this game which are a problem. For example, unavoidable bugs. This is something that has been apparent with the creation engine and Bethesda games of the past, which I will give them credit. There isn't as many bugs here as I would have seen in many of the other experiences that I've played before from Bethesda, but there are issues that I've seen pop up online and also in my own personal playtime. For example, the quests not working properly, or the markers on the map not showing up, which is really frustrating if you're trying to complete a quest line. And I know people have completed specific quest lines and not got the rewards. The certain NPCs will just go missing, and these are the type of things which can really sour a playthrough. And by all means, I wasn't expecting a 100% bug-free experience, but it does show some of the holes that Bethesda has, either within the creation engine itself, which is still amazing to me with how it generates the physics and loads all of the objects within the world. But then when it comes to like the pure quest design and how things can just fall apart, it can sour the quest design. It can sour elements of the game that you really want to play, and that is a damn shame. And then there are flaws with the game which just come down to design and things that could have been so much better, even though some of them have a bit of upside. For example, the Starship Builder is great in the overall design of it. You can go from building a ship and then looking at it on the landing pad straight away, but things such as rotating and snapping in different areas, being able to change the way that the ship looks, or saving a blueprint of a ship so you don't have to go to all these different star yards and create a ship that doesn't work until you actually get the pieces that you want, and then having them locked behind certain areas of the skill tree, it can kind of make you not want to engage with the system as well, even though it is a fantastic system to look at. Like, I really have spent many hours building a ship, looking at a way to design it and having it show up as a silhouette, and all of the creations online are wonderful, but once again, it has its flaws. Another system like this is the outpost system. I really wanted to engage with this because being able to make your own outpost would be awesome and then have them on these planets, but the reality is of the outpost system is it's very poorly designed. A lot of the times you are literally just using it to mine resources. The cargo link system doesn't work in the way that it's intended, and it also means that you have to go through a lot of extra steps to make it work, and sometimes the things don't even show up in the way that it does, and then even the UI bugs out as well. And yeah, I really did not enjoy the outpost system, purely because you could bypass all of that by going to vendors because of how many credits that you actually get within the game. A lot of this is also amplified by the UI design of the game. Some of the systems that you want to engage with don't have a very good UI, and things aren't shown the way that you would want them to, so they're clearly marked. Sometimes you have to go through 2 different menus to get to the thing that you want to go to. And I get the design of the overall initial inventory screen and also the UI itself, but it does come at the cost of annoyances, and already people have fixed this via the Star UI via mods on PC. But if you're not playing on PC, you're going to have to run into this issue, and the UI needs a lot of work, and hopefully it gets redesigned maybe, or there's an update to it, because you engage with the UI a lot and it can be aggravating in the first couple of hours, and then eventually you'll get used to it. But that's no excuse. You should be able to have a smooth user interface experience right from the get-go. Combining all of these elements, the flaws and the great parts about the game, comes together to make the experience that is Starfield. I very much enjoyed my time with the game, but for the early hours of my experience, I felt like something was missing. I was searching for that wow factor, that selling point that really gets you to be able to talk about it with your friends and say, this is why I'm playing the game. And I couldn't find that. But the weird thing was, I kept playing. I kept enjoying my experience. I wasn't pulled out by that fact. Eventually, I realized that there's no one system in the game that sells it for me. It's a feeling. But that feeling is something that Bethesda has been doing right from the start with all of their games, and that is their approach to player autonomy. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, players are given autonomy to build their characters however they like, which means that they can play the game in a variety of different ways. This is apparent in every single system in the game. During the making of this video, I understood that there was player autonomy there, and I couldn't explain the feeling of why I kept playing the game. And ultimately, that is it. It's down to what Bethesda does and how it gives the freedom and the feeling to the players to play the game however they see fit. If you want to play this like a traditional game and go from start to finish and just do the main story, you can. If you want to go off the beaten path and go and do side quests, the faction quests, and everything that the game has to offer in the different cities, you can do. If you want to be a space hauler and just mine a bunch of goods and then transport them around the galaxy and sell them, you can do. If you want to be a space pirate, you can do with the Crimson Fleet storyline, or just be that in general. If you want to be a bounty hunter, you can. If you want to go and get lost on a planet for a few hours like I did and just enjoy the experience, you can. It's Bethesda's approach to player autonomy that I think I like the most about this game, and is what sells it for me. I've spoken to many friends and they have said this feeling of adventure, this feeling of doing anything that they want to do within the game, is what keeps them playing. And I think this is the magic of Bethesda RPGs, and here it was no different. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Starfield, despite my gripes here and there, and I still want to put more hours into the game, despite the long laundry list of games that I have got that I want to play as well. It's taking my time away, and that's a good thing, but it's doing it in the right way. It's not forcing anything on me. It's not forcing me to play the game for any arbitrary reasons. I just want to play Starfield and have some fun in space. But that's just my opinion on the game. Hopefully this has resonated with some people. Let me know your opinions down in the comment section on Starfield. Have you enjoyed it? What aspect have you enjoyed? Just let me know. I'd love to discuss the game a little bit more. And if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it and consider subscribing to the channel for more content similar to this, and turn on the notification bell as always to be notified when I bring out more content. This has been It's Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.